Okay, so you have to make a cut on the table saw, and as you're thinking about the cut, lining it up, maybe you do a test run on how it's gonna go, you realize that, okay, this cut might be kind of sketchy. So how do you choose the appropriate push stick? Maybe you have one of these micro jigs, which I love. Maybe you have another push stick like this with a little heel on it, or you have a wider push stick like this. So I'm gonna walk you through this particular situation and how I go about setting up my table saw to make sure that this is a safe cut. I need to trim off a section from this piece. Now you can see a finished piece over here. And as I was setting this up in the table saw, I was running it through here, and one of the issues that I'm having is that I actually had a slight round over. So this piece is a little bit tippy. So when I applied downward pressure on this piece, it wanted to tip like this, which can be a very dangerous cut. So initially what I was gonna do is I was gonna use my micro jig to run this through the table saw. Since there's an edge right here, this isn't even. As it would push, it would cause this piece to tip. So you can see here, as I apply pressure, it wants to scoot away from the fence. So another up close look as to why this won't work. You see how that heel is just slightly narrower than this, and it wants to push this piece away from the fence as I apply downward pressure. So this micro jig would have created an unsafe cut had I attempted. I could try to keep the heel planted on this flat part, but it would be difficult to do, and this narrow style push stick actually provided a much safer cut. I can ride it up basically right against the table saw. So as I was setting up this cut, I decided to try out this push stick. Now this push stick, I could apply pressure that wasn't going to make the workpiece tip as much. And then what I also did is I made sure that my splitter was ever so slightly bent into the direction of the fence. Now, you don't want a whole lot of bend, but this would keep my workpiece pressed tight against the fence as it would go, and it would prevent the workpiece from rotating. Okay, so at this point in the video, you might be asking yourself, well, why don't you use a feather board, you dummy? That's what they make those things for. Well, number one, the feather board I don't have a good way to clamp it to this miter slot. So that's not an option right now. But number two, I do think that this splitter trick is actually kind of cool because it provides pressure after the feather board, because a lot of times you can have your workpiece pressed up against the fence before it enters, but if your splitter is pushing your workpiece away, that can still cause a dangerous situation. So best case scenario, have a feather board and have your splitter perfectly aligned. But in the case that you don't have a feather board and you need to make this cut, this is a way to do it safely. All right, so enough talking, let's go make this cut. Accidents always happen when you get a little bit too comfortable or you just didn't think your cut all the way through. So stay safe out there and see you next time.